So in this video today, we're going to take a look at the top 10 suburbs in Cairns that have been getting the highest online search interest rates on realestate.com.au. So if you are a home buyer and you're trying to figure out what's going on in this marketplace, we like to look at this data to really temp check and diagnose in real time what exactly the demand side looks like, and it's a really good data metric to look at and gauge and temp check what's going on in the marketplace. But also, if you are an investor and you're trying to figure out what are the suburbs in high demand in Cairns, so you can potentially look at buying an investment in the area, then you're going to get a ton of value out of this video also. Stick around, guys. Hello everyone, my name is Troy Simbassini, CEO and founder of Life Buyers Agency, where we help everyday Aussie legends just like you mitigate your downside risk, but at the same time maximize our upside potential. And we have buyers agent services in various specialized locations across Queensland. We have an office in Cairns, and we have a buyers agency called Tropical Life Buyers Agency in the area. So we're intimately involved in the Cairns marketplace. We're on the ground and we know what's going on here, and we're keen to dive in and take a look at the top 10 suburbs for you. Cheers. So let's dive in and have a look at this top 10 list. And this list is broken into three categories. We've got the suburb, how many views it's attained, and what is its median house price. And then also what I want to do is work through this list, but also provide some insight as to why we believe this suburb is in high demand and why it sits on the top 10 list. And hopefully you can use that as a bit of insight and value to take away and then help you with your next purchase, whether it's a home or investment. So I'm keen to dive in now, guys. So sitting at the very top, we have Kawara Beach. Those who aren't familiar with Cairns, Kawara Beach sits in the northern beaches of Cairns, roughly around 20 minutes from the CBD and roughly 60 minutes from Port Douglas. It had 2,139 unique views on realestate.com.au and has a median house price of $640,000. Interesting that we see Kawara Beach sitting at the very top. We actually believe internally at our office that Kawara Beach is sitting at the very top purely because of affordability reasons. And when you look at Kawara Beach's neighbouring suburbs, both Palm Cove and Clifton Beach isn't on this list, but however Palm Cove is, they're its neighbouring suburbs on the north, and they actually have a median house price close to $1 million. And we believe a lot of buyers are now priced out of Palm Cove and Clifton Beach and are now looking further south into beaches like Kawara Beach and also Trinity Beach on this list, which we'll get to shortly. And these suburbs are the best part of $200,000 to $300,000 cheaper than those northern beaches suburbs that are in extremely high demand, both Clifton Beach and Palm Cove. So yeah, good to see Kawara Beach up there number one, but we believe it's sitting there because of affordability reasons. Number two, we have Red Lynch, which has 1,666 unique views, has a median house price of $655,000. So Red Lynch sits on the inner north, roughly around 10 to 15 minutes from the CBD and roughly 10 to 15 minutes from the Cairns northern beaches also. Interesting that we see Red Lynch sitting up there at number two, and we believe that is largely driven by a lot of families very keen on getting into this market because it's still very affordable. Also, a $655,000 median house price. There's still great entry point into this market for first home buyers as well, because there's still a lot of established stock in Red Lynch that are currently selling well under $600,000 at the moment. So it is very popular with first home buyers, and it is also very popular with families, generally second and third home buyers right now, because it has some really good amenities. It's very close to the city, has really lovely parkland and some really good quality schools in that suburb as well. So we can see families, we believe, are really driving that online search interest in Red Lynch. Number three, we have Trinity Beach, which has 1,578 unique views and a median house price of $653,000. And Trinity Beach, we believe, similar to Kawara Beach, this demand is largely being driven by affordability. Also, a lot of people again are priced out of Palm Cove and Clifton Beach, and it's starting to create a ripple effect into these other suburbs and it's spiking demand in Kauai Beach and Trinity Beach. So yeah, if you looked at that median house price in comparison to Palm Cove, it's the best part of $250,000 cheaper, and you get the same amenity. You're very close to the beach. You have a lot of the same lifestyle drivers in the area, and yeah, it's the best part of $250,000 cheaper. We believe that Trinity Beach and Kauai Beach, particularly if you're an investor watching this, has a lot of upside potential. It could get too close to $900,000 by the end of this decade, we believe, and Palm Cove and places like Clifton Beach might push up into the $1 million mark, $2 million median house price by the end of the decade, certainly as well. So that's Trinity Beach, largely driven by affordability, sitting at number 3 on the list. But we're not surprised at all to see Trinity Beach up there on that list. It is a beautiful beach, guys. Whitfield, it has 1,500 unique views and a median house price of $682,000. We're really surprised to see Whitfield on this list, purely because Whitfield itself is such a small and condensed suburb. It's almost like a really small pocket of the Cairns inner north, where you don't have a lot of housing stock, particularly when you start to compare it to suburbs like Redlanch and Mount Sheridan. These suburbs have almost twice, if not 3 times more amount of dwellings. But Whitfield, despite that short supply of dwelling, or that short stock number in terms of what sits in the suburb, it still sits at number 4, and that's really surprising to us. However, we are seeing a trend, particularly around Whitfield and Edge Hill, and we'll get to Edge Hill in a sec. Whitfield has a lot of established families that are buying in the area, looking for that short commute time and close to some really good schools around the inner middle ring of Cairns also. But there is a lot of gentrification also going around Whitfield, where there's a lot of established stock, particularly older Queenslander homes, older Besser block homes that are getting redeveloped, either completely knocked down and a new dwelling is being built, or getting completely renovated and refurbed by second and third time home buyers that see better value for money knocking down and building or renovating a property in Whitfield, as opposed to building a new house and land packages out on the fringes of the city. So yeah, gentrification really moving through Whitfield, and a lot of people want to be close to the inner middle ring, and it's largely being driven by families that want to be close to a really trending part of town. Number 5, Palm Cove, 1,400 unique views, a median house price of $975,000. Palm Cove, it absolutely dominated this list for the last 24 months. It was the suburb with the highest search interest for the best part of 24 months, but it's now sitting down at number 5. In fact, Palm Cove did a lot of heavy lifting for Cairns during the COVID period. It had a lot of record sales in and around Palm Cove, and Palm Cove is one of the most desirable northern beaches property markets. But in addition to that, it also has some really good macro desirability. A lot of people are familiar with Palm Cove, whether you're Sydney, Melbourne, because people have come into the area, had a holiday, went back home and go, oh, I want to eventually retire there, or buy a holiday home in the area, or move into the area completely. So Palm Cove has always been a really popular suburb, just purely because just on the macro level it's quite famous for its tropical beaches and all of its amenity close by. But very interesting to see that it's been knocked off the number 1. Maybe we're starting to see demand sort of taper off as that median house price has skyrocketed over the last 24 months, and maybe we're starting to see a slight tapering off there of this particular suburb. However, good to see it sitting there still up in the top 10 list. Number 6, we've got Smithfield, 1,400 unique views, median house price of $590,000. We think that Smithfield's sitting on the list because it's similar to Redlanch, very popular for young families right now. It's in a good location, you're still a really good commute time into the CBD, and very close still to the northern beaches You've got shops, you've got restaurants, cafes, and you've got also some job hubs in and around Smithfield, and some really good schools as well. So families are really driving both demand, I believe, in the new part of Smithfield where there is new residential house and land packages, a couple of years old in some of the lower lying areas of Smithfield, but also demand is spiking now in the established areas because there's still a lot of really good affordable established stock in and around Smithfield on the north west part of the suburbs. So interesting there, guys. Smithfield, seeing that on the list, but yeah, really driven by families and affordability, but you're also close to some really good lifestyle drivers and good public amenity. Smithfield, we have number 7, we have Mount Sheridan, 1,400 unique views, median house price of $462,000. It's actually the cheapest suburb on this list, and it's actually the only suburb basically on the Cairns south side, which is very interesting. This list is dominated by mainly suburbs on the inner middle ring of Cairns, or on the Cairns inner north and Cairns northern beaches. So to see Mount Sheridan on this list comes as a really big surprise. But if you looked at that median house price, what's actually driving demand in Mount Sheridan, we believe, is that affordability. So families, very popular with families in Mount Sheridan because you're still only 10 to 20 minutes from the CBD, close to some really good schools, shops, and some good public amenity close by. But if you looked at it and benchmarked it against Redlanch, which is also popular for families, and also Smithfield, which is very popular for families, it is the best part of, $150,000 cheaper. So it's actually started to push a lot of first home buyers and families that have a bit more of a lower budget into really good suburb like Mount Sheridan. If you start to look at what are some of the better suburbs on the south side of Cairns, Mount Sheridan is certainly up there. But if you're an investor, like seeing that median house price sitting well below $500,000, and when you start to benchmark it against these other popular family-based suburbs, then maybe there's some really good upside potential there if you're an investor to get some short-term capital growth, as a lot of families move into this market, pushing up that median house price. So maybe it's one to watch if you are an investor. Number 8, we have Brinsmead, which has, again, 1,408 unique views, a median house price of $622,000. Brinsmead, close to the inner middle ring of Cairns, the best part of 5 to 10 minutes from the CBD itself. Very popular with second, third time home buyers. But Brinsmead is also home to a high-end or a luxury market as well. Big spenders are buying up in Brinsmead, particularly on the elevated parcel of the suburb. There's a lot of properties that generally sell there above the $800,000 mark on the regular, and then pushing up into the $1-2 million as well. But Brinsmead, yeah, I'm not surprised seeing it on this list, just given its proximity to Cairns. It's an established area as well, so there's always going to be multiple bidders for properties or huge demand in places where there is very limited supply. And Brinsmead is completely, again, built out like a lot of these suburbs, and you have not a whole much of supply coming into the suburb unless it's median density apartments or townhouses or your 3 or 4 flat pack type developments, but they're just not coming onto the market in suburbs like this. So a lot of people want to be really close to the CBD. But if you looked also at Brinsmead, it's also close to some really good schools, shops, and the way the suburb is designed is really nice. You're kind of nested amongst the valley of the rainforest, very leafy green. So a lot of things going for Brinsmead, and not surprised seeing it on the list. And Brinsmead is one of those suburbs, if you're an investor as well, and you can hold an asset that's close to $600,000. I believe that Brinsmead suburb, given that it's such a fundamental suburb, good demographic, really close to the CBD, one of the nicer leafier green areas in town, I can see that median house price certainly pushing up at around that $900,000 by the end of the decade. So if you're an investor and you can hold an asset like that, particularly that's might be slightly neutral or negatively geared, I think there's a lot of upside that's coming into Brinsmead. Edgehill, 1,403 unique views, median house price of $760,000. Edgehill, one of my most favourite parts of Cairns, very trendy area, similar to Whitfield, very small sample size in terms of the amount of dwellings that sit in the suburb, because the suburb itself is very small, but very trendy area. Collins Avenue is one of the most trendiest places in town. You have the restaurant, shops, cafes, you have the walking tracks, really good schools, and super close to the CBD also, only like 5 minutes to the CBD. Edge Hill, very trendy. We're seeing a lot of gentrification, similar to Whitfield, also moved through Edge Hill, where there's a lot of older established stock being knocked down and rebuilt or completely renovated, and it's adding a lot of value and appeal to that suburb. So a lot of people are really interested in Edge Hill, and given that it's such a small suburb again, I believe that that supply to demand ratio is always going to be imbalanced. I think there's always going to be much more demand than supply in Edge Hill going forward, and I can certainly see also this median house price, particularly if you're an investor, moving into that $1 million mark by the end of this decade, that's for sure. Number 10, Trinity Park, 1,369 unique views, median house price of $620,000. So Trinity Park, yep, sitting at number 10. Interesting little suburb, Trinity Park, just neighbouring Trinity Beach. Has all the same amenity basically as Trinity Beach. However, it is still very much affordable as well when you start to benchmark that against Palm Cove and Clifton Beach. So these particular suburbs like Trinity Park, Kauai Beach and Trinity Beach are really benefiting from Palm Cove and Clifton Beach being the best part of $300,000 more expensive, and there is still some really good quality stock in and around Trinity Park, particularly around the harbour. You have some properties there that would sell for close to $4 million, and then you have a lot of properties in the new estate of Trinity Park that are still sort of getting going, finding their feet. That estate, it is a suburb that's sort of still finding its feet and its identity, but as it moves from sort of a new estate into more of an established state, we're certainly going to start to see that median house price pick up as well. However, my only concern with this suburb is that there are still a lot of small block sizes in there, and that could particularly drag down that median house price when a lot of these properties that sit on those small blocks just don't sell at the higher price point. But yeah, overall a great list. As I said, dominated mainly by suburbs on the inner middle ring of Cairns, on the inner north and then the northern beaches, and you only have the one suburb on the south side of Cairns. So very interesting overall where the demand is coming from here, guys. But basically, that top 10 list for January, this could change leading into February and March, so something to keep an eye on. And you can look at this data on realestate.com.au and get a real-time understanding of what's going on the demand side in these suburbs. If you do have any questions pertaining to what's going on in these suburbs and you want to unpack exactly if they're good for investment or whether you should be buying a home there right now, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. More than happy to jump on a call as well and speak with anyone that's interested in buying in this Cairns market or needs help navigating the Cairns market. And in relation to some of the figures I said around where these median house prices might go, please don't take that as investment advice. This is just general advice because I just don't know your individual circumstances, so just take that with a grain of salt, guys. But overall, top 10 suburbs for Cairns. I'll be doing another one of these probably around March to sort of see what's changed and what's going on again. But again, if you do have any questions, guys, feel free to reach out, and I hope you've got value from this video. Cheers, bye for now.